Hi, I'm Randy Robison. This is Life Today TV. I'm here with Caroline Barnett. Caroline is married to Matthew Barnett, who is the pastor of the Dream Center in Los Angeles, and there's other Dream Centers I know that have popped up around the country. An amazing, amazing ministry, and I don't know, frankly, if I would be willing to put my wife in some of the situations that Matthew has been in some of the neighborhoods and some of the outreaches, but really what they do is an amazing work. So, Caroline, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor.
Now, you came to the Dream Center early on as a volunteer.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how that worked.
Okay. Towards the end of my senior year of high school is when I felt the call of God on my life. As I was reading the words of Jesus, I thought, this is what I want to do. These types of things is what I feel passionate about. But I grew up in a typical church. It was Sundays and Wednesdays, and that was it. And so I had all this built-up passion, but no outlet for it. And by nature, I'm a pretty shy person, so I wouldn't go stand on a street corner by myself. And so when I came across the Dream Center, I thought, this is it. This is where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. But I was 17 then when I initially found the Dream Center. I was braces, and just gung-ho and very passionate. And I came to a service. Now, Matthew was leading the service. He was 22 years old, so the Dream Center was only about 2 years old. And he was leading the service. I was sitting about second row to the left. And as he was greeting the crowd, he said, before you're seated, turn to the person next to you and say hi before you sit down. And as soon as he said that, he jumped off the stage, came straight to me, and said, hi, I'm Matthew. Do you want to go out tomorrow night?
He wasn't shy about it.
No. And it dawned on me for the first time just this last year. It's like, I wonder how many times he did that. I always thought I was the only special one he did that for.
We'll have to ask him.
But yeah. So, no, he came straight down to me and asked if I'd go out. And I said, sure, with my big shiny braces. Sure, I'd love to. And so we were supposed to go out that next night, but I was still new to the Dream Center campus. And if you've never been there, it's a city block long with 9 buildings, the tallest building being 15 stories high. And so I was waiting on one parking lot, and he was waiting around the corner down the street at another parking lot. No. And we both thought the other one didn't show up. We both waited about 30 minutes and just gave up. But I was in one of those hyper-spiritual seasons of my life. I was very radical, and I thought, oh, God, thank you for protecting me, because I knew he had called me there for life, and it would have been weird if I dated the pastor, and it didn't work out. And so I thought it was God's protection over my life, self-righteous, But yeah, no, then it was 2.5 years later. After turning 18, I moved into the Dream Center, and I worked in every department, and then started our feeding program, our mobile food banks. And then 2.5 years later, Matthew started calling me in for meetings that weren't really necessary. And had I known my power then, I would have asked for 10 more trucks and 10 more volunteers. But yeah, so shortly after that, he asked me out again for a second first date.
Oh, nice. And then how long until y'all got married?
We got married within 6 months
Lord.
after that. Yeah.
You didn't waste any time.
No. And it was beautiful. At our wedding, we bussed in the homeless, the people I was feeding on the food truck sites. And then you had the rich, the celebrities. You had Lou Rawls sang at our wedding. He was volunteering at the Dream Center at the time. And so it was a beautiful thing. And so actually today is our 14th wedding anniversary.
Well, congratulations. Yeah. I'm glad you see fit to spend it with me instead of with Matthew.
Yeah. Don't tell him that.
What have you seen? Give me a little sample of what's gone on over the last 14, 15 years.
Well, it's amazing how God has opened our eyes to different issues and different needs. And it's all started through, our first program was Adopt a Block. And just by simply going out into the street saying, we're your neighborhood servants, is there anything we can do to help you? Just by offering ourselves, making ourselves available, God's opened our eyes to see real issues. And when you start helping one issue, it uncovers a root issue. And so a couple years ago, I started women's ministry because I felt a passion to start a program, foster care intervention program. And that's because I was out to lunch with a friend, and she was sharing all kinds of statistics with me about the orphans around the world. She has a huge passion for orphans, but orphans around the world, and then orphans in America, and then the foster care system. And when she was sharing all these statistics, the one that stood out to me most was when she said that more than 50% of kids in America are in foster care, not because of abuse or neglect, but simply the lack of basic necessities. And when I heard that, I was shocked. I ignorantly assumed every child is in foster care because of something major. And so to me, that was good news, because I thought, well, there's no reason why we as a body of Christ can't stand in the gap and keep a family together if poverty is the only issue. Yeah. And so I started women's ministry, and we started a program called Project Prevention. And since starting Project Prevention 7 years ago, we've been able to save 1,000 families from losing their kids due to poverty. And how we came about it is we just simply approached social workers and said, as a church, we can help with clothing, food, basic necessities, furniture, mentorship, and at the Dream Center we also have GED classes, so we can help with some education. If you come across a family at risk of losing kids due to these things, call us. We'd love to help. And at first they were a little leery of us if we'd be willing to stand behind our promises. But as soon as we showed ourselves faithful, social workers were so excited. They were so relieved to have this help. And we get calls of 7 to 8 brand new family referrals every single day. Wow. So these are families with open cases, at risk of losing their kids due to poverty, that we're able to jump in and help and save. And so, but you know, as we were working with these project prevention families, so many of the moms we realized aren't ever going to make it in life until they have a chance to take a breather, get a real education or a job skill, and then go back out and try again. And so along with the homeless families at the Dream Center, we started bringing in project prevention families. And, you know, we test all the moms and dads as they come in for their education level and then their natural giftings, so we can help guide them into a job that they'd be naturally good at. But we saw this trend. So many of the mothers were testing with a first grade, second grade level. And the first mom we brought in, she was in her 40s, a Caucasian woman from New Jersey. She had 6 kids, but 4 of them were with her. And she was tested with a first grade education. And so we started sending her to tutoring classes, but she'd come back embarrassed. She was the oldest woman in the class, had a hard time keeping up, and was just embarrassed, you know. And so she came back, she told us her story. She was molested by her father until she was 8, at which point she was put in the foster care system, and in over 30 homes before she was emancipated at 18. Wow. And at that point, no education, no job skill, expected to fend for herself. Wow. So no wonder. She's a survivor in reality. And so I always like to encourage people, you know, the God miracle in her life, the miracle that would not only change her future, but it would change her children's future and generations to come. That kind of God miracle would be for somebody, for the first time in her life, to love her enough to teach her how to read. No one her entire life ever loved her that much to teach her how to read. And, you know, sometimes we think, you know, we want God to use us in the miraculous as far as, you know, praying for the sick and seeing them healed and, you know, parting seas or something like that. But the truth is, that would be the greatest miracle in her life, changing generations to come. Our basic abilities can be a miracle in someone's life.
You have been a big part of changing a lot of people's lives. How has it changed yours?
Well, you know, it does something to you when you're physically seeing God's miracle working hand every single day. It does so much in reminding of you of what's important, what's not important. Looking at life in the big picture, you're so much more thankful for all that you have. It gives you a joy, even though it's something that breaks your heart so deeply. It puts a joy that, you know, you can't get from anything else. It's a satisfaction that you can't get from anywhere else. And, you know, in the Bible, in Isaiah 58, and several other places in the Bible, he says this, but God says, you know, when we go out and help those in need, we'll find our own salvation. Our own wounds will be healed. That he will answer our prayers. And he doesn't just say, answer your prayers, I'll answer your prayers quickly. That he'll renew our own strength and renew our joy and purpose in life, and we'll constantly, throughout our entire life, be guided by him. And with promises like this, I think we all have an hour to carve out in the week, you know, to go and serve somebody. Who wouldn't? Sign me up. You know, those are incredible promises. And that's something I'd like to encourage people too with, is that everything that you do counts. Even if you think, oh, all I have is an hour, that hour can change somebody's life. Don't discredit it, don't minimize it. That hour means so much to someone. And maybe you think your gift is too small, but every single penny counts. And so everything that we do matters for God. It's never wasted.
What do you think people that just go to church Sunday, Wednesday, like you said, as you grew up, are missing by not getting involved in people's lives individually? You know, getting really... I have a great church. I'm not here to knock churches, but you could go to my church and never connect with anybody if that's what you wanted to do. I mean, we work real hard to get them to connect, but you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You're doing something that's beyond just attending a church or attending Sunday school or even Bible studies. I mean, you're getting out in the streets. Do you see a difference there?
I think the quickest way for your relationship with God to grow stale is by not finding that bigger cause in your life. And I believe every Christian has been called on, in some capacity, on some level, to help fight an injustice in some way. So, you know, God doesn't call us all to be in full-time ministry, and I think that's kind of a misconceived fear of people.
At least,
you know,
at least from a status standpoint.
Right. If I open my heart to God, he's going to send me to Africa, and I'm going to have to eat nuts and twigs for the rest of my
Right.
life. No,
But full-time ministry is right where you're at.
right, exactly. And to be God's hands and feet, there's need all around you.
Right.
And again, it has as much to do with you as it does those whom you're helping and what it produces in your life. And one of my favorite things to do is to go down the line of people waiting out at our mobile food truck sites. I just go down the line and just offer prayer. I don't force it on them, and I don't say they have to be prayed for in order to receive, but I just say, hey, would you like prayer? That's all I simply say. And 80% of people say yes.
Wow.
And the number one prayer request is that God would provide work. Not a handout, not a winning lotto ticket number, and just that God would provide work. And so as I go down and I pray and I believe and I speak the words of Jesus over them, speak the scripture over them, it does something to my own faith. Because then I come back the next week and I see that God has answered their prayer, and their excitement and enthusiasm spreads to the other people in line that God is answering, God is the miracle working God, and He is on our side and He is for us. It does so much more for your own faith.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine not doing this in my life.
Interesting thing that you deal with. What percentage of the people that you work with are on welfare?
Oh. Yeah, I wouldn't even know. I don't even have a roundabout. Everybody lives way below the poverty line.
Okay.
And I would say a lot of the citizens of America then would be on welfare. I'd say most.
I'm curious just to know the difference between, and I'm not knocking welfare, it's a scriptural idea, but the difference between those who get something from the government that just provides for a basic need, and that's great, versus when the church provides that basic need and then offers prayer like you do.
Right. And that's why I believe it's the church's job. Because maybe you think, oh, it's the government's job to educate. Why would we step in and start offering GED classes or teaching someone to read? That's the government's job. Or why should we provide food? That's the government's job. Well, you could provide for a need, but all you've done is provided for the basic necessities. But when we as the body of Christ come in, we're not just providing their needs, we're pouring into their potential. We're giving them a reason to get up in the morning, a reason to live, a hope for tomorrow, the favor of God on their life, the ability to live an abundant life and eternal salvation. And every single person who I've talked to out on the street, there hasn't been one time when I didn't think, no wonder. No wonder you ended up in your circumstances or made the choices that you made. And it's generational.
Yeah.
A lot of the moms on our family floor, homeless family moms, they grew up in foster care themselves. They have no idea how to live an abundant life. They were not given an education. They don't even know what a whole life looks like. And so when we come in there, and a lot of them, when we ask, "What's your dream?" They honestly say a lot of childlike dreams. Things that don't line up with reality. And so we have to sometimes dream for them. In the meantime, help guide them into something that they'd naturally be good at, so that there'd be a passion for the work that they do.
Yeah.
But it all makes sense when you hear these stories and see what they've gone through. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Your new book, Willing to Walk on Water, what does that talk about?
Well, I wrote it because I'd like to demystify what it would look like to change the world. All God needs is our willingness. Again, whether that's your willingness is 1 hour a week or $10 a month or, give your whole life to the cause. All God needs is our willingness. He'll do the miraculous, and we could change the world. And so my book is talking about what that looks like on a very practical level, and then all the personal benefits that come right back to us when we serve others.
Very cool. Be sure to check it out. Caroline Barnett, Willing to Walk on Water. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, places like that. What is the website if people want to follow the Dream Center and maybe follow kind of what you and Matthew are doing?
It's dreamcenter.org.
Dreamcenter.org. Do check it out. And check out Caroline when she's on Life Today. That's at lifetoday.org. Thank you for sitting down and taking a few minutes with us.
Anytime. Thank you.